Welcome back, wannabes and creators, to another episode of The Complete Creative, the podcast that helps you build and sustain a better creative business. And this is still Kickstarter month, and I'm going to be honest, I was kind of worried because none of the guests that I had recorded had ever run a Kickstarter before, and I didn't talk to them about Kickstarter. So I was kind of worried, as I mentioned, and I only had one more interview this month with Liz Manashil, a director, and I went to research her a couple of days ago, and boom! I realized she'd run 2 Kickstarters, and that was a lovely serendipitous coincidence. And then I watched her movie, or one of her movies, Speed of Life, and it was absolutely delightful. I love it, starring Ann Dowd, and literally, if you watch this movie, you'll be like, I know that person, I know this person, I know that person, I know that person. And she made it on a micro budget of $100,000, which seems like a ton of money, I know, but is very, 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 very little money to make a feature film that has a known Hollywood cast. So I had her on the show on the recommendation from a previous guest, Chris Weil, and she was amazing and delightful as her movies, and I can't wait to have you check out her interview. Before we do, I want to remind you that Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter is on Kickstarter for just one more week. So head on over to russellnolte.com/Ichabod Volume 2 and check it out. And if you want to run your own Kickstarter, then check out thecompletecreative.com/FKC. But mostly, please go back to Kickstarter. It's really a great book. Ichabod's about a psychopath that escapes a mental asylum and becomes a monster hunter, but doesn't know if he's killing monsters, humans, or it's all in his head the whole time. It's a mind screw. It's fantasy. It's horror. It's really, really deeply from the bottom of my soul, my guttural moan of my soul. So I do hope you'll check it out. Again, head on over to russellnolte.com/Ichabod Volume 2 and check it out. And here is my interview with Liz Manashil. Here's my first question. Your Kickstarter page said that for Speed of Life, which I guarantee I'm going to say 1,000 different ways during this conversation, and I'm sorry already for it.
Yeah,
said you raised $15,000. It said you really needed $40,000. So my question is, how the fuck did you make this movie for $40,000?
Oh, I didn't. I made it for, I'm not allowed to say, I mean, I genuinely believe in transparency, but, oh, no, I'm fuck it, fine. It's around 100K. And I can tell you how we financed it. It was about 16K through Kickstarter. It was, a good chunk of money from bread and butter revenue for my first film, 2 small investors, credit cards, and, I think that was it. I think all of that combined, and then, like any money that I had ever saved ever, $200,000.
That makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, not better that like you maxed out every credit card you had, but like I've made a movie and it was very mediocre and it cost me $30,000. So, and every single person I saw in that movie, I was like, I recognize that person and that person and that person and that person was on like a regular on a television show that I watched. Yeah. And so but I know all about like having a budget that you really desperately hope you can get in on and not doing that and not being able to get there. So, and the movie is amazing.
Thank you. Oh my God. I just read a bunch of Letterboxd reviews today and I was not feeling so bueno about this chat with you. So thank you for saying such a kind thing.
Well, I mean, it's so hard to make a movie at all. And then to make it in one location, and then to make it with like 6 people in it, and to make it interesting as well, or maybe there was like 8 or 9 people in it. How did you go about conceiving this movie? And maybe we should step back because I have a tendency to just go in because I'm so excited to talk to people, and maybe tell people who you are and what we're actually talking about and like the movies that you've made. And then we can actually go into all of the exciting things that I have to discuss with you about this movie.
Sure. Oh, I love enthusiasm. All right. Well, my name is Liz Manashil. I'm a writer, a director, producer, and casting director of 2 features. I also consult in marketing, distribution, and creative funding for independent films. and I used to work at Sundance in this department called the Creative Distribution Initiative. So I talk a lot to filmmakers and try to be an advocate for them. But yeah, I'm Liz Manashil, and I make low budget films because I can't find larger sums of money, and I just desperately want to make content.
And I totally understand that as a person who like desperately writes his heart's content and tries to make stuff. So this movie, can you talk specifically about well, I didn't get a chance to see Bread and Butter, although like it is literally the bread and butter of kind of movies that I like. But I gave my wife the pitch from your thing, and she just last night, and she decided that Speed of Life was where she wanted to go, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go. And but we're going to watch Bread and Butter tonight. And I was like, that's a little bit late. Like we're like that's after the movie. You know, we've done their thing. She's like, I don't care. I want to see the movie because I really like this other one.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm like gonna die after this interview. This is really lovely. I don't think there's a question, but I'm just reacting to
no,
your kindness.
Talk a little bit about the two movies that you've done. And I assume the third movie has not been done yet because I looked on the website for it and I could not find a way to watch it or see a trailer for it.
Yeah, correct. We haven't shot it. We were supposed to shoot it in June. Obviously, we couldn't. So we're on hold right now, and the plan is to shoot it next summer. It's called Lady Parts. That film is about a woman who she has preventative surgery because she has the BRCA gene, which is like a gene that puts you at higher risks for certain types of cancers. And it's a dark comedy because in this film, she gets her organs excised from her body, and they start talking to her and advising her on her life. So it's like a puppet uterus and a puppet cervix talking to this woman about her life.
Yes, and that would have been easily my number one that I wanted to watch. And I was like, how do I watch this movie? I'm like, I know it hasn't been made yet. It couldn't have been made yet because there's no trailer. But like, I just want to believe that it has been made and I can somehow watch it. But the movie that I did watch is lovely, and I'm making an assumption that the movie, the other trailer was lovely too. But you've done two movies. Could you talk a little bit about both of them and maybe the process? Because you went to Kickstarter for both, right?
Yeah. Bread and Butter, we fundraised in 2012 and we shot it in 2013 and festivals 2014 and released in 2015. And it stars Bobby Moynihan from SNL. He's everyone's drunk uncle. Christine Weatherup, who is actually just in Watchmen. She's amazing. We have Lauren Lapkus, Harry Groner, who is the mayor in Buffy, Micah Hauptman. My partners in the movie. I always feel like the need to brag about my cast because I'm just very proud to have worked with them. It's an anti-romantic comedy is what I like to call it. It's based off of some personal experiences, some invented, but the idea is that it's, a romantically inexperienced woman being forced into a love triangle for the first time in her late 20s, early 30s. It involves a lot of fantasy sequences and a lot of indie folk music. I'm very proud of it. I worked on the script for quite a long time. And then Speed of Life, the premise for Speed of Life is what would happen if David Bowie's death ripped a hole in the fabric of time and space, and that hole just happened to be in a fighting couple's living room. So it's a sci-fi romantic dramedy, and it's part Handmaid's Tale, part walking and talking. It's just a very wordy, micro-budget, low-fi sci-fi.
But with a really high concept. And the one thing that I noticed trying to pitch both movies to my wife last night was that it seems like you've gotten considerably better, like finding the high concept part of the like low budget movie. Would you say that's true as your career has gone on? Yeah,
though there's a downside to it. So like I have a really fun time pitching Speed of Life because it's David Bowie and it's a rip in time and space. And I'm a big Doctor Who fan. So like I have all these images that come to mind when I talk about it. But I think when people watch it, it sets up this expectation of like, oh, this is going to be a David Bowie tribute, weird, zany sci-fi movie, when ultimately it really is like a love story about a woman who can't get over a breakup. I mean, it's a metaphorical breakup, but it's a breakup. And so I think, yes, I've learned to like market better, and I can sum up the film in kind of a more exciting way because it has a more exciting concept, but it also sets up audiences for disappointment sometimes. And I think that's but that's marketing, right? I mean, you have a really impressive marketing background. Like, have you ever felt like you probably never feel this way because you have a good quality, like, service that you're providing. But I guess I felt like I was letting people down just a tiny bit.
Oh no, I feel like that all the time. Every time I sell a book, I'm like, God, did I just trick this person into buying this book? I mean, I know it's good. There's hundreds of reviews that back up that it's good, but like, did I just on the strength of my marketing, did I just like sell this person a bill of goods that they're going to hate?
It's imposter syndrome, right? It's like we all have it, but sometimes it's really prevalent, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, the one way that I have learned to deal with it is I imagine people who have told me how much they liked the book, and then I say, well, do I think that they are stupid? I'm like, I do not think they are stupid. I mean, do I think they have bad taste? And I say, I do not think they have bad taste. So I cannot offend them by saying this is not good, because like I would be offending literally them if I like did not believe in this book as much as they believed in it.
Oh, I love that's so healthy. That's such a healthy way of looking at it. I think it's hard for me to even get out of my head to be thinking about other people, but you're right. I mean, you don't want to insult other people. So I like that.
Yeah, I had an artist drew a book for me. I won't name who, but like eventually, like years later, he's talking about like how good he is and how much he hates his own writing and drawing. And I'm like we sold thousands of copies of our book, like to like, and I paid you a lot of money to like make this book, and like I love the art, so like I have to ask, like, are you trying to offend me? And he's like, no, I wasn't. I'm like, well, like you have to take that into account when you like are you can disparage yourself as much as you want, like in private,
right?
But I think that it's unhealthy to do so, and. I have a healthy dose of myself, like I'm full of myself-ness, I guess. I have equal parts, like I hate myself and I love myself so more than anyone else in the world, right. And it's hard to balance those things because it'll switch like from 0 to 11 like in a second. But yeah, it really works for me to go back and say, look, I know that like when I have a project that doesn't do as well as I want it to, what I say is, oh well, the market for this is just smaller than I thought. Like and like I'm like, I misjudged the market, but I still made a good product. And when the person comes to that product that loves it, they're gonna really love it.
Again, that's like a really wonderful way of looking at it. I really appreciate that. Like I'm just like sitting here thinking about that, like, yes, there is a market for everything. And especially if you put your heart and soul into something. I guess I always doubt that I'm putting 100% of myself into it, because do you ever, like when you were a kid, did your parents always say things like you have such potential, and then you just never feel like you're hitting that potential? Like that's what I'm always thinking about, is like, did I really do all the work I could have done? So that's what I'm insulting, is like myself, my lack of 100% commitment, and hopefully not anyone else, but I will keep that into consideration now.
I have another one for you then, because whenever I finish a project, I say, did I do as well as I could do with the resources that I was given? And that includes the time that I was given, the budget that I had, the people that I had, the skill level that I had at the time. Like, do I feel like not just that I did as well as I could today, but like, did I do as well as I could at the time to deliver the best product I could with the resources that I was given? And, you know, given an infinite amount of time and budget, we can do all the stuff. But for me, what always tripped me up doing that was that, like, I would say, well, I didn't put it all. I'm like, well, you know, I had a year to make this project, like, and I had, you know, X amount of dollars to make this project. So given those constraints, and I was only maybe a third level writer, not a 20th level writer. So like, given those constraints, did I do as well as I could? And if I did, even come close to that, because we often can't approximate even what we imagine in our life. So if I can look at a project and say, this approximates the skill level or exceeds the skill level that I had at the time, like I can then look at it better.
Oh, I really love that too, because I think we often forget about bandwidth, like emotional bandwidth, and we'll say, I could have done more, and it's like, well, would you have combusted if you had done more? Would you be on the floor like a little pile of goo because you didn't get to like turn your brain off for an hour or two that night? I think we often forget about the consequences. So you're right. Like, to the best of my ability, I think I did do the best I could have done with both my films.
And like, I know it's not, I can tell that that's not everyone's cup of tea, but like, it was very much my cup of tea. So like, I very much appreciate it. And I'll tell you a story about a project that I had called, it used to be called Spaceship Broken Needs Repairs. It was about a boy who meets a homeless alien and helps rebuild her ship to get off the planet. And it was about, but it was really about like abuse and like this, the systemic abuse that happens between generations and generations and generations, and the cycle of poverty. This kid got pulmonary fibrosis because he had to. His family was very poor, and he had to live in these asbestos laced places. Oh. And so it meant that his family, like his parents, started to fight and hate each other and hate themselves because of it. And so anyway, it was a family drama, but I put spaceship in the title. And so half the people that reviewed it said, this is like this was false advertising. There weren't any spaceships in this book. And so I renamed it Sorry for Existing. But it's been my best reviewed book and my worst reviewed book, because the people that find it very polarizing. And for me, that's lovely, because I want to elicit a strong emotion from the people that read it, either negative or positive. And I have plenty of work that I've done that is like straight down the middle and elicits nothing. And that's the worst, because it's just an echo chamber of like nothingness.
Well, I think it's funny. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I really appreciate that story. But second of all, it's like the filmmakers that I love are the ones that do elicit those kind of, one of them is controversial, but the other one, it's like, I love Whit Stillman, and like Whit Stillman, no one really talks about Whit Stillman anymore. I love Nicole Holofcener, but I also like really love Lars von Trier, and like people hate Lars von Trier, and he's like thought of as a misogynist. Like there's all these things, but I really adore him. And then it's like you forget that the flip side of doing something that's kind of atypical are those negative responses. And maybe we take it, or I take it too personally, but having a strong reaction means you did something right? You got under someone's skin, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, I just listened to my friend has this show called Deep Cuts, and they do these very weird things. And he was talking about this guy who had like a 4-hour audition tape where he played like hundreds of roles, and like men and women and
I think I heard about this actually.
Yeah, and they're like, I won't say that it's good, but it's so weird and unique that like it worked somehow for like these. And like the whole concept of outsider art is sort of this thing, right, where it's like, wow, this is so like weird and experimental and doesn't make much sense, and like these people like may not even know what they were doing, but somehow it's also brilliant and I can't look away. I remember not this same level, but like I love Michel Gondry's work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I watched it and I'm like, what must this guy must have been thinking? It's like sometimes I'll watch a movie or I'll read a book and like I have no idea what this person could have possibly be thinking reading this thing, but like I love it that it exists because it's so odd and like quirky, and it clearly has a piece of their soul inside of it. So often I read or watch something that you can just tell is soulless. That like when you find something that has a piece of someone's like soul, you could feel just the resonance in there. Like it means so much more than watching something that may be technically better, or like they had $1 million, $100 million, or 5 years or whatever to make it, and you can just tell that like there was nothing on the screen.
Well, all throughout the editorial process for Speed of Life, my editor puts a Post-it up per project, and it's like the mantra of the project. And the one for Speed of Life was keep it weird, was what she put up. And I really liked that. We were like, we don't have to be normal. we can be weird. And so we just kind of leaned into that from time to time.
Yeah, you know what I really appreciated is even though it's a sci-fi movie, you made no effort to explain anything about what the rift was or how it operated, and it didn't really have consistency. But like, it didn't matter. You could tell he was just like, I don't really care about this. I just need it as the narrative device to move this forward, and it needs to work in this way for the movie to work.
I think that's so funny. I very much didn't care about it. And like, I think that's one of my regrets is like, I think a regret in the sense of like something I learned from, not something that plagues me every day. But like, there are a massive number of people who want to make science fiction content and would take this opportunity to make some sort of analogy for society and some sort of, metaphor. And it would be this dystopic future. And we have a dystopic future, but it stems from like my thoughts on ageism in Los Angeles. It's not from any like massive trauma that I experienced. And I just think the concept of David Bowie ripping a hole is like cool. I just think it's cool. So for me, it's like the concept is enough to keep me going. And the love story is supposed to like pull people along the way.
Yeah, but I think you did make a strong but subtle statement about like the way we use technology, how we treat old people, like how we even deal with age, and how like there was a moment where, like when Edward sees the love of his life after 40 years, and she's aged 40 years, and like he doesn't even seem to care that she's like not like he doesn't seem to affect him in the I no longer like you because you're old and you're gross now. Like it was just this like moment where like they still connected in that same way. And like I thought that was like a beautiful like idea, because so often like you would see that moment where the guy would be like, wow, you're old. And you'd be like, oh, what? You're still cool even though you're old.
Right.
Like,
the, like really broad joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was none of that. It was just this like, there's like I talked about so it was like their souls still were connected. They were still like one thing, and they were able to continue as if no time had lapsed, even though 40 years had lapsed for one of them and 40 seconds for the other one. And I thought that was a incredibly powerful statement. Maybe that you needed the sci-fi element to make that statement.
I'll take that. I will certainly take that and run with it. And what's also super interesting, I wasn't anticipating. I mean, I'm like a registered independent, so it doesn't bother me, but I do live in Los Angeles. The film is being celebrated by a conservative contingency right now because they see it as anti-government. And also it came out during the pandemic or right before the pandemic. So there's like this interesting plot line that you could read into about government oversight and quarantine. And I would never really put two and two together until we got programmed by Libertarian Film Festival. And I was like, oh, I might have made a conservative film without even knowing it. But I think a lot of sci-fi has like healthy criticisms of government overreach. But I was just taken aback that I didn't even know that my film could have a political affiliation. But I guess it kind of does.
But that's so interesting because you talk about the corporation that it's corporatization that has like, so it's the opposite. Like if anything, it's the dystopian Ayn Rand future that like they're living in, not like a dystopian 1984 future, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is the corporation. It is a corporation. It's a brand. It's got a logo. But I think the idea is that it could be implied that they're government sanctioned programs in some way. And I think a lot of people could see that as some sort of, I don't know, stripping of Social Security benefits and Medicare. I mean, I don't quite know what's going on. I'll take it. I will take any audience that I can get is what I will embrace.
Can I ask you a question? It may, it's going to change the topic, but do you think that some of the reticency of you about this movie is because like when you first went out to Kickstarter, it like raised less than half of the first movie? Like does that play into anything, or like how does it feel when a movie like when you like go out with a thing? Because I've done this where I've gone to a thing and be like, this is going to be better or like as good, and suddenly like you're like, oh, no, these people didn't get it at all. Like, what the hell happened?
Um, I think I haven't rewatched my first film for a very long time, but I think first features get a certain uh, light shined on them, shown on them, because it's like you want to support an artist coming into their own. I got embraced with my first feature. I didn't even know it was being embraced. I thought it was a failure too. But looking back on it, I think it was a success. The second feature wasn't able to raise a lot of money on Kickstarter because I was drained, I think. And I think I set the Kickstarter goal at 15,000, and I should have set it at 40 if I really wanted to raise 40. Like, momentum completely slowed after we hit 15,000 because everyone thought, well, they reached their goal. That's all they need. I don't think they read the fine print. But I also think there's something there about sophomoric efforts. And I don't think this is a slump. I think in many ways I grew as a filmmaker with the second film, but I don't think it's as entertaining. Like, I think people will watch the first film and they're like, oh, I know what this is. This is a quirky, it's like an all white cast with like folk music soundtrack. And it's like, a girl's love story. And they knew where to put it. And this film is just a little bit weirder than that. So I think that's what happened. But I don't know if I over answered your question, Russell. So please feel free.
Any answer is good because I'm obsessed kind of with all of this stuff. So as you can imagine, and you're right, because generally a second book will do half of what the first book did. And so when I looked at the how the graph went, I was like, oh. Well, that kind of makes sense because, it like went almost down by half. And but on the same time, I was like, but this seems like it's so much easier to pitch. I made a mumblecore movie that was like folky and it became a web series and like it's impossible to pitch. It's like some guy goes home and then there's some things and like some stuff happens and there's a love story. And then I like have these books that I'm making now, and it's like it's about a girl who gets sick of living during the apocalypse and sets out to hell to kill the devil. And they're like, oh, yeah, like, yes, I know what that is. Like I know what that box is, and like it's so much. Even though I would love to go back and like those are the movies that I love making, those like kind of like weird, like quirky, like bread and butter movies. Like it was kind of shocking to me that that I looked at it, I was like, wow. This feels like it should have raised more money than like the first one, simply because it's so much more marketable.
Well, the concept in the Kickstarter video was completely different than the actual final concept. This originally was supposed to be a horror film. I was going to co-write it with my husband. I almost killed him during the writing process, so we stopped co-writing, and I turned it into a sci-fi film. So I often go out and announce things and put them out into the world way before most people do. And I just evolve them and kind of pivot. So I think like another creator would have had like the final draft of their script before they fundraised. But for me, I was like, 2016, got to do it, got to raise money, got to have momentum. I'm just going to I'm going to do a horror film. I'm going to do a horror film. This is what it's about. I'm going to go on Kickstarter. And then from 2016 to 2019, the film changed entirely. So I also think the pitch was a lot murkier for that campaign.
It makes complete sense to me, honestly. I got to ask about the cast. How like this movie is like a small intimate sci-fi. Like, how did you get this cast? Like, I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, she's on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And like, didn't she? And I was like, didn't the lead woman, like, didn't she just win like an Emmy like last year?
Yeah. And out. Yeah.
How?
I cast my projects. I mean, and by say that, like I've done a bunch of shorts and then I cast Bread and Butter and I cast this. It's because I don't have money for a casting director. So I've learned to cast, and I always bring on an entertainment lawyer to help me with like the deal memos and the negotiating. But in terms of like doing the outreach and emailing the agents and pitching to them, I do that. And I just go to who I want. So Anne was recommended to me by a friend. It's not like he had a personal relationship with her. He was just like, this actress, Ann Dowd, she plays a lot of supporting roles. She's amazing, but she might want to play a lead. And that might be the enticement for her. And, I started conversations with the representation, and we got to the point after a long time of talking. They said, she wants to do it, but Handmaid's Tale season 2 is coming and it's 8 months. If you will push your production back by 8 months, she'll do it. And so I did it. I pushed production back 8 months. We had the financing to go 8 months earlier, but I didn't because I really wanted to work with Ann Dowd. And then everyone came on to work with Ann Dowd. Like, it really was, I mean, it's not like it's easy to cast a film, but, Allison Tolman was like, I would like to work with Ann, and Jeff Perry's friends with Ann Dowd, and Ray Santiago was slightly intimidated to work with her, and Vela, so it's like casting is vital, but also if you're micro budget, you have to have some kind of carrot, and she was our carrot, and I was grateful that she would be a carrot for us.
That's wonderful. I love hearing these stories about like how casting and production works, because it is so often exactly what you said.
It's circuitous. There's no like straight path.
Right. And you run into the same thing of like, okay, like I'll come in, but like I don't want to be first money in. And then
right,
like I'll be third, I'll be second money. And like, so you're like, okay, so I've got 7 people who are willing to be second money in, but like I need first money in, and then I'll have a movie. And like no one wants to move.
My trick for that, which I always tell filmmakers to say, is that you have a first money in, you have a private equity investor, and you don't have to tell them their name, and it's you, because you're probably putting a lot of money into that LLC bank account. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's your first private equity investor. And then that other person that you're talking to can be second. They don't have to be first in. You've already invested and put some skin in the game.
I'm totally going to use that, because like the one thing that I really got out of like watching that movie is like, I want to make a movie again. It's been so long since I've like even tried. It's like, if she can make this for even close to the $40,000 that she said, like that like gives me a whole lot of hope, because I don't like to wait. Like I like to like move stuff either. and I have all of these projects that are big movies. I don't know if you had a chance to look at my website, but like I have big like horror, like big horror, like fantasy books that are like big like television shows, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to make any of these things. And it's been torture, because for years we've been pitching these things around and like waiting for other people, and I'm like, but what if I just did what I did when I was 25 and just like made a thing? And like the amazing thing about your movies and the trailer for your first movie, I didn't watch it. And the second movie, it's like, they look so freaking good. Like they looks like so great. How long was the production on Speed of Life?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say, please go and make your movie. That's like my mantra to anyone I talk to, because you're going to feel, as you're going to feel a certain emotional catharsis when it's over and you put it out into the world. And it's like, that's why we do what we do. How long was the shoot for both of them? 16 days for Bread and Butter and 12 days for Speed of Life.
All right. That's making a little more sense now, because you were in one location, right? Even though it felt like a couple locations, did you just take one house and make it in different places? It
was one location. We had to repaint some walls. We used the exterior. It's this gorgeous house in Valverde, California, and the father in the house plays with Huey Lewis's band, and so I think part of them. It was like an Airbnb, and I think part of it was like they liked that a David Bowie film was filming at their property. But yeah, one location, and there's even like this garden area with a pathway that we turned into a like an outdoor location where they're pacing at an outdoor mall or whatever. I mean, obviously it was visual effects and green screen, but we didn't leave that property.
Yeah, it definitely. Like knowing that going into the movie, I don't know if I would have thought it like not having seen it before, but seeing it, I was like, wow. Like, and there's just like the attic part of it, and like there's a stairwell they probably had that was close to like a laundry room, and like this was probably the like a third bedroom upstairs, and like there was probably like there was the like, everything. I was like, wow, it was like when they said they use every part of the cow, like I was like, they use every part of this house, like no part of it went unused.
That's very true. I mean, we did do pickups in another location now that I realized that I was speaking slightly untruthfully, because there's one additional location where there are two exteriors that are at our line producer's backyard. But everything else is in the house.
And for people that don't know, what is a pickup? This is not a show about movies. So I'm like using all of these things, and probably these people are like, he made a movie? Like, what is going on here? He's never talked about this in 200 episodes of the show. So, but like, yeah, I started in movies, and that was the first thing that I wanted to do, and directed a bunch of stuff. And then like that fell apart, and I started comics and then books. And so, yeah, let's define what a pickup is and for these people.
Yeah, I'll pick up as just anything that you didn't get in your principal photography, your main shoot time. Usually they happen after you go through the editing of the film a little bit, and you kind of know what you're missing and beats you want to hit or scenes you want to add. So we added 3 scenes that were shot in one day in one location in Pasadena or Altadena at my line producer's family's house.
That's awesome. Because I think that people, when they're listening, most of the people listening to the show are authors or like artists, and they're like, how am I going to get someone else to make my movie? And the amazing thing when I was researching you, it's like, oh, she just like made a movie. She just was like, I'm going to make a movie now.
Yeah.
And like, then, I mean, it wasn't like poof the next day she made a movie, but like, it's like, oh, she did the thing, and she like did a Kickstarter, and then she used that money to like make a small movie and use that movie to like leverage into a second movie. And it's like, just like how they teach you in the books.
Well, and just like you, I also am very impatient. You know, I think you said it in a much kinder light, because you should be kinder to yourself. But I'm as per the theme of the show, I'm a little bit meaner to myself. I'm a little bit impatient, and I feel like a biological clock, and I feel like I need to get a lot of projects off the ground. And so I'm, supposed to shoot this 3rd feature, and then I have like plans for like 3 other features in my mind, and I'm just waiting for the pandemic to be over so that I can just like try to get those going too.
So what is it like just not being able to do anything right now? Like when you're as type A as I am, and it seems like you are as well.
Well, I actually just quit my job last week, but up until then I was spending every weekday hour at my job. Like we work remote, but I was staring at my computer doing work. And then a few months ago, I kind of came to this realization, like, I'm an artist. I went to film school. I made 2 features. Why am I not making my own hours? Because I have like a marketable skill to consult, and B, why am I not writing? Why am I not making content? So I was distracted for, 5 months of the pandemic. And then my birthday rolled around, and I just kind of decided enough is enough. And so now I'm not frustrated. I'm more driven. So every weekend we have shot listing with our DP for feature 3. We are going through the script and shot listing and storyboarding, even though we don't know when our dates are. We have production meetings every 2 weeks where we just talk about how we don't know when we're going to shoot the film, but at least we're there talking about it. And then all my other hours when I'm not working and being with my kid is thinking about what I want to do. Like, what's the next film? What's the smart film? What's a good casting choice? So I'm doing a lot of strategy right now.
Oh, that's great. I got to ask, does that mean that your birthday is September 8th?
No, my birthday is August 24th.
Oh, I was going to say, because that would mean your birthday was 1 week. Well, is the day after my birthday.
Oh, happy late birthday.
Thank you. So let's like try and make this actionable for a minute as I'm geeking out about like all of your work. And like, so like someone's sitting here and going like, I have this really cool like thing that I've made in some other medium, book or comic or piece of art or like toaster art or whatever, it doesn't matter, but like, and they're like, I want to get it done, I want to actually make it. Could you give some like actionable steps that someone could actually take outside of like let's say they you know, just start from the scratch?
I mean, if you have problems writing and in getting pages out, my advice is to just spend 20 minutes a day. For me, it's the morning, but you pick your time looking at Final Draft or Celtics or whatever, Celtics, however you call it, or whatever screenwriting service you're looking at. Just spend 20 minutes a day. Did I say 20 hours? I'm so sorry. 20 minutes a day with the document open, trying to write. You don't have to produce a certain number of pages. You don't have to beat yourself up. You just have to like stick to it every day. So that's my advice for writing. And I think it is actionable because it's 20 minutes. It's not a lot of time, but it's a commitment.
Let's say that someone, because like the thing about this movie, again, I didn't see the first one, but like, is it was small, like not it's like small in scope and small and contained, and like it felt very much like you did everything with like in this one location with this great cast. So do you have any tips on like? For me, it's very hard to write like that. I like to just be like, and then there was explosion, and then there was explosion, and then these people die, and then there was explosion. Do you have any advice for like how to make something like riveting and small at the same times that can work within like a micro budget?
Well, it's actually counterintuitive. I think you write to your heart's content and you write exactly what you want. And then you hire a line producer to break down your script and tell you how much it's going to cost. And then you think, what is this explosion worth to me? Maybe I have one less explosion, you know? And you just kind of evaluate every expensive set piece and character till you get to the bare bones of what the core of the film is. And that's the film you make. And to be fair, visual effects were donated on this film. If I were paying for the value of these visual effects, this film would be $200,000-$300,000, right? So you also can dream big and then develop relationships where, you know, the visual effects company came on as a co-producer to this film. It was they're in the opening titles of our film. So there is a way to dream big and possibly negotiate those big set opportunities, like set pieces for yourself. So I guess my thing is like, don't curb your creativity before you need to. Like, keep things a little bit open.
Awesome. That's great advice. All right. So now I've got a script. What's like, did you shoot digitally? Did you shoot on film? I'm assuming you shot digitally because that would be considerably cost effective. Like, any advice for a person on like what gear like they should be looking at, or should they be renting gear? Like all of the like the next step, whether they're now ready to like go out there and do the thing.
I think the choice of your cinematographer is vital for a film. I mean, obviously it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I really love working with the two DPs I'm working with right now, Liz Yarwood, who's doing Lady Parts, and then Julia Swain, who did Speed of Life. And the reason I mention this is because your cinematographer will probably have relationships with rental houses. They may have their own camera. That's not why you're hiring them. You're hiring them because they're the best at what they do. But if they're very good, they also know that they've negotiated with a vendor before, and they know how to make a lot with very little. So what I would do is start crewing up, and then having your crew be the experts that they are, advise on what's instrumental for the film and what's not as you build the budget. So
I love it.
Yeah. So like Julia, like she'll say to me what we can get rid of. She'll be super honest about it. We don't have like a techno crane or whatever, you know, but she'll say like, we need a slider here. And I'll know that she's saying it and she means it. So I think that's pretty instrumental, is having crew that you can trust.
I think this is great because most people know about casting, but they assume that they're going to be like holding a camera as well, that their brother's going to be like shooting the movie. And so could you talk a little bit about the key positions that they should be looking for before they even get off the ground to make this movie, besides the cast?
Yeah, I mean, I start with production design and cinematography really early because, first of all, they are both positions that need production design, I think, okay, how do I phrase this? when you hire a production designer, as you know, Russell, but I'm just being very
please be as basic as possible, because I'm gonna send this to every single person who's ever asked me or told me that I should just make the movie of my thing and just to show them how hard it is.
Well, I mean, first of all, the way to get people on board a project is to treat them with kindness, right? So if you really have a very low budget, you don't want to waste a lot of their time. But there may be some production designer who you're their first or second credit, and they really want to devote several months of prep time for free to your film. And I would say, to be very clear, you cannot expect this. I got very lucky on Speed of Life, and where we didn't have budget, we did have time because the production was pushed back 8 months. So I worked with my production designer and we developed a look for the film, and she bought furniture and bought lamps and bought rugs and bought props and then stored them in a warehouse so that we were ready. So if you don't have money, sometimes you have time. And I think production designers are really good to get on board, especially if it's, a build heavy or an art direction heavy film. But I also like to lock on a cinematographer, because then you could start dreaming, you start exchanging reference materials. And again, pre-production for me is over a year usually, so it's every few months I'll talk to the cinematographer until prep. But other than that, having a line producer or first AD come on board in addition to your producers is important, because they can usually break down how many days you will be shooting based off of your script and your budget. And they also, the line producer, will be building the budget. So when I write a script, I write the script, I have someone budget it based off of that version of the script, and then I rewrite it, and then I rebudget it, and then I break down the days that we need to shoot and the location. It's like a very long, involved process. But those are the things that inform my budget. Those that are things that inform my creative process. A lot of positions you don't need to hire until right before the shoot, but there are some key partners who are like collaborators with you for pre-production.
Right. And this is, even if you're doing this mostly yourself, or you have a small crew and you live in Ottawa and there's like not a lot of crew around, like at least gives you some ideas of what kinds of things you have to be thinking about for a budget, right? You need the directing, but the directing, I think people think of it like directing is this like magical position. That's what they heard, but I find it mostly like production management of other people, and like just trying to get all of the right people in the right places so that like they can all do magic for you and make you look good. So you need to figure out your shots, like how you're shooting, what format you're shooting in, like where, like how you were going to move the camera around and what you were going to use to move said camera around in each scene. You need to know what you're going to put in each scene, chairs, wardrobe, apron, like whatever the thing is, curtains, drapes, all of that stuff. How you're going to paint each room. So like there's your production design. You're going to have to take all this material and then make an actual movie of it, because it's very boring to watch all of your dailies and it feels horrible. So like you need to figure out how to edit the movie into like a movie that people can watch and enjoy, and not like whatever hot mess you got on the day that like you just hope is going to give you 10 minutes of good stuff. You need the writer to have the script, and you need the line producer to tell you, like line producer / AD to tell you, like, this scene is going to cost $50,000. Are you sure in our 100,000 movie you want to use 50,000 of it in this one scene? Yep. And you need someone who can tell you to think about those pieces, even if you do not have access to Los Angeles or a crew. Aside from, and then hopefully you have someone who can cast your movie for you if that's not you. I love sitting in the room listening to the auditions. I am not a huge fan of reaching out to the cast and having them do a thing. In fact, usually I just go for the quick, like, is that person willing to do it? All right, like, let's make sure she can read. And then like, so like, as someone who like really wants to cast, like, I really want the movie to be good, but like, I'm very scared of the rejection of like having someone say no. So having someone who can do those pieces, and even having them is like, all right, you're going to go make your micro budget, like $5,000 movie. Like you're going to shoot on your phone like Tangerine. Like you still need to think about these positions and have plans for each of these things, because the worst thing you can do is get on set and say, do we even have people? Do we have the cast? Like, who's going to shoot this thing today? And like to have that all done ahead of time, and come in with a plan is really important. I don't know, even if your plan blows up half the days.
I do have to say though, you learn, what is it, trial by fire, right? So it's like, I think a lot of people want to make movies and then they'll not hide, but they'll just kind of push it off a little bit because of the amount of variables, because there's so many variables to track. But what I just want to say is, like, you could also just like get a few friends together and like throw yourself into the fire and not know how to direct and just like fail upwards, like that is an option too, and it's totally fine.
It is. I learned that I needed to do table reads after when I would go on set every day of my first movie and be like, this is very good. We need to rewrite this before the actual thing happens. And like, what has already happened in this movie? Because like, we have to make sure it makes sense, because like, this is bad writing. Like, and I don't like anything. And I probably should have spent more time on this, because like the actors would read it and it'd be very stilted. And I'd be like, who wrote this thing? Oh, I wrote this thing. This is not good. This is not.
It could also be the performance. I'm sure your actors are amazing, but it could also be a bad interpretation of your lines.
But that is also the director's responsibility, to hire the actor who can read the lines properly.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. So we've been talking about this for a while. We're almost at the end of our hour. I want to make sure. I really wanted to make sure that I got a chance to like geek out with you about your movie, because I really, really, really did like it. I don't care if anyone else likes it or doesn't like it. Like, I thought it was the exact kind of movie that I would love to make, and I like watching.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, like, for me, that's the thing that matters when I make something. I'm like, do I like it? Do I think the people that like, did I do it well? Do I believe in it? And like, if I believe in it, and there may only be 7 other people that like also like this particular thing, but that is not a problem that was a producer Russell problem or a publisher Russell problem. That was not a creator Russell problem. The thing itself was solid. The creative Russell the business Russell just made a bad decision on theoretically what to make, because the market was smaller than they thought. But as long as I made sure that I was like within the budget and we made more money than we spent, then I'm like, that was a win for creative Russell to live another day.
I love that. I'm really going to try to incorporate those kind of philosophies into my life. I also co-host a podcast, and like I'm like the 5 people who listen to us, but like I'm the pessimist, right? And I keep on saying things that are negative, but you're right. It's not helping anyone to be that way. So I'm going to try to learn from you.
I think there's a difference between optimism and pessimism, and naivete and pragmatism. Yeah. And I think people too often correlate pessimism and realism or pragmatism and naivete and optimism, but they are completely different. Like, I am an optimistic pragmatist. Like, I think that everything's going to fall apart, but I'm hoping for the best when it all falls apart and that I'm ready for it. Whereas someone can very much be like a pessimistic, naive person who's like, everything's the worst, and like, or like any scale on that, and they can fall anywhere on that scale. And so I think that I have a feeling that if I listened to your show or we talked for longer, like, I would find out that you actually were quite optimistic, because I find creators, like, you can't do this work without having some level of optimism, like it's gonna work out. I mean, like, you basically sat down and from nothing, like, created a movie that now is out there and people are watching and enjoying and like leaving reviews for like there's nothing, like, no way that a pessimistic person could do that, because they would have shot themselves in the foot at some point along the way, Well,
I think we also have, the career in our minds and then the career in actuality. And I know you were talking about well, just like we're talking about potential. And I think that's always in my mind is like whether or not removing the actual object of production, the films that we make, like, are we hitting our potential? And I'm obsessive over potential, and I'm obsessive over making a difference and making an impact. So that's probably where I'm a little bit negative. But you're right. Like, you have to have a certain level of confidence and ego, and I call it delusion, but the self-worth maybe to go out and put something out into the world. But it could also be foolhardy, and sometimes I do it a little in a fun foolhardy way.
Yeah, I think there's some foolhardiness. Well, I could talk with you for another 7 hours, but I know you have to get out of here. So I'm going to ask you to just let people know where they can find you, where they can watch the movies, and then get one piece of advice that you'd like us to leave the podcast with.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Liz Manashil. You can find me just by emailing liz.manashil@gmail.com. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram just at my name, Liz Manashil. The movie is currently, Speed of Life is currently on Showtime. It's also on Amazon Video, Google Play, that's my dog in the background, iTunes, and on some merchant ships around the world. And Bread and Butter's on like Amazon Prime and iTunes. Same things except for more SVOD. We're not on Amazon Prime in the US right now. Okay, advice. Wow. Oh, something positive as the siren goes on behind me. I just think before I made my first feature, I think I was really frustrated as a person. I'm still frustrated as a person, but in a different way. And I was very unhappy because I just was so focused on getting the feature made. And I just want to say that I feel a certain level of satisfaction now that I've made my movies. And yes, I'm going to continue to make movies, but if anyone out there has like an itch, and this itch is obsessive, and they need to get a book or a movie or a podcast or a comic book out into the world, that like I really want to encourage them to do it in the ways that they can with the resources that they can, because your entire world would be transformed. You'll be a happier person, and you'll make the people around you happier if you do it. So please, for the love of the universe, get your work out into the world.
I love it. Thank you so much, Liz, for stopping by.
Thank you.
So that was my interview with Liz Manashil, director and filmmaker and writer and all-around complete creative human. I had such a great time in this interview. Please go check out Speed of Life. And just like me, I'm going to check out Bread and Butter as soon as I can. And if you like this episode, make sure to check out Liz online. Send her an email. Tell her how much you enjoyed it. Check out her movie. Leave an awesome review. And, while you're on the internet, go over to russellnolte.com/Ichabod Volume 2 and check out my new book on Kickstarter right now, Ichabod Jones' Monster Hunter. It's about a mental patient that escapes an asylum and becomes a monster hunter during the apocalypse, but doesn't know if he's killing monsters, humans, or it's all in his head the whole time. And after you've backed, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It's how we know that you like this show and we're doing a good job. That's it for me. Have a great day.